Hey, everybody. It's Thursday. It's Jupiter Day, baby. It's a day of power. This is a day when we can take our own personal power into account, identify it, grow it in a creative way, grow it in a way which is very beneficial and positive to yourself and those around you. Yes, it is that. And this is another facet of wealth. A wealth asset is a recognition of our own personal power and in others. At any rate, this is a day when everything you hear from somebody in particular, whom I call the orange pus bag, is a lie. I mean, I saw him at his board of peace. And I mean, I'm bored of his board of peace. He's boring. Yes. He's like an old washed up insult comic. And people humor him, and he says some things that are funny. Yeah, they're funny. But you have to have a particular type of humor for a lot of those things to be funny. And then he tries to come off like he's not a racist. Like he's not a racist. Isn't that fun? Now that's funny. But it's not. It's horrible. This whole situation is totally harmful. Yeah, it's completely harmful. It's genocidal almost. Yeah. And you can see the handwriting on the wall. So he comes along. He, first of all, pulls out all the people that hate everybody that's in government, especially Democrats. He pulls those people out. He gets the bigots, the racists, the right-wing extremists. He pulls them out, and that becomes the beginning of part of his base. And then you have the people that want to believe the big lie. There's a lot of people out there, and I've seen them, and I've been one of them, but not that big lie, other big lies. And they get drawn in. And then the people who are still looking for daddy. They haven't got over daddy yet. Well, let me tell you something. I'm a daddy. And I ain't your daddy. And he ain't my daddy or your daddy either. No, he's the same generation as I am, and he's a disgrace if we were looking at things with generational pride. This man is a disgrace. He's a disgrace to himself. He's a disgrace to his family. He's a disgrace to this country. Yeah. He's a walking, shit in his pants, national disgrace. That's right. Hey, call his wife. Oh, Colin, what's her name? A movie star. I can't tell you what I really think. Yeah, because some would consider it libelous, but it's not libelous because it's the truth. So, yeah. So a lot was going on with Epstein. Epstein was pandering all kinds of shit. He was a major pander. He made money off of being a pander and more than just prostitution activities. Yeah, he's a pander. He was like the ultimate pander. Not to be confused with panda. Anyway, this whole Epstein thing, it's been around for a long time. It's been around since way back. A lot of us have known about it for a long time. But what do you want? Here's a guy that got beat in a lawsuit for sexual misconduct, basically. Beat by a jury. Yeah. Yeah. And he's exonerated? Oh, man. He's about as exonerated as I am back in the day when I drank and I got DUIs. That's about right, ain't it? Yeah. Well, I don't drink like that anymore. In fact, I have a drink once in a while. Anyway, now I sound like him, don't I? Isn't that funny that some of the things that some of us hate about this guy are things we don't like about ourselves? Yeah. Yeah, or insecurities. The whole run of everything is totally insecurity. He's one of the most insecure sons of bitches I've ever seen. And people ate him up because a little bit funny, and he wasn't your typical politician crook. Okay, because you had the oldest politician crook in there in this, the term before. Hey, Joe, man, Joe knows what he's doing when it comes to getting shit done, though. And he got some shit done. Just think if he would have been on his sharper years, if he would have been 70 instead of 80. Just think. Yeah, I know. Well, here's the thing. He had a great group of people. They just didn't do well with the public with the immigration thing. Okay? Now, I've talked about the immigration topic a lot. I live in Phoenix. I've been dealing with Mexican nationals and immigrants, illegal or whatever you want to call it, my whole life. Now, I even went through a period in my life where I was anti-immigrant. Yeah, I was anti-Latin American immigrant. Yes, I was. Hell, I'm part Latin American. So what the fuck was I thinking, right? Well, here's the problem, okay? When we perceive somebody as the other, somebody that is the enemy, somebody that's out to get us, somebody that's going to mess us over, that's going to get our money, going to get our sex partner, going to screw up our business, going to just harm us for the hell of harming us or scam us. When we have that type of, gets to that point, it's a type of paranoia. And the thing of it is this paranoia bleeds over because people start to form political social opinions about this stuff. Yeah. I'm not talking too good because I just did some of my medication. Whew. Sorry, folks. At any rate, you've got somebody who's dysfunctional. And he's got a bunch of dysfunctional critters around him who are amoral, unethical, unprincipled, who are trying to latch onto the foundation of what they consider the greatest codification of principles there is. Christianity and the Bible, right? And yet here we are. We've been supporting them for years. We've been supporting the hexagram for years. And nothing wrong with the hexagram. What's wrong is who the government is in the hexagram and what they've been doing for years. Yeah, and you all know what that is. Hell, you can't be that ignorant. Now, if you are that ignorant and you got an opinion for this other side that is really the major source of these problems, let's not forget that this is a widespread set of problems in the political sphere that's been around for a long time. My personal history, I wanted to be a Democrat, right? Because my dad was an old Southern Democrat. Well, after what happened in the 60s happened, I wasn't able to be a Democrat. No, I turned on the Democrats, and I never liked the Republicans. They were always out front with what crooks they were. Yeah. Like, I wanted to like Nixon. This goes back to the 60s, yeah. And this is before the presidential election this is around the 1960 election, right. And I wanted to like Nixon. And I knew a Nixon who was a relative of his, right? So I talked to my dad, and he goes, oh, no, he's a politician crook, son of a bitch. And guess what he was? Yeah. Well, we had all kinds of them here in Arizona. We had Democratic governor politician crooks. Look, this is a widespread, not a phenomenon, a set of criminal activity that's been going on in government for as long as I can remember. It's called politicians. Yeah. And it's called the two-party system, which is really the uniparty with, I don't want mustard on my hamburger and I'm only going to have ketchup on mine, right? Well, it's not, don't get me wrong, not to normalize it, because there is fascism. Yes. And it is rampant now. Now, it's always been covert, right? There wasn't as much historically as there is now. There's more of it now. A lot of it is involuntary fascism. People don't know they're having authoritarian ideologies. They don't know that. And they think, well, what the hell? These guys are running it and they don't know what to do. How about we get somebody? No. They don't understand democracy, first of all. Democracy is not easy. Democracy is tough because it requires people to participate and not be misled. It requires people to go, hey, look, that dude's pretty powerful. He could talk a good line of shit. No. What it is you need people who have good policies that get shit done. I don't care what party they are. I prefer if they weren't any party, which goes back to the founders. They only wanted there to be one party because they knew there was enough diversity and disagreement in the one party. They knew it. That's right. And here's the whole thing. Human nature really hasn't changed that much in 250 years. Well, 300 years, let's say, because that's when it kind of started. I mean, that's when the genocide got in full swing, right? Right. And we could talk about genocide because we've had genocide here in this country from day one. First of all, white people came over here, Europeans came over to this continent, and their diseases got out. And the diseases is what killed everybody. The diseases, the flu, the common cold, smallpox, those diseases killed off the multi-generational natives that were here. Yeah, decimated them. There's books about this. I mean, there was 1992, right? 1991, 1491. It's a great book. You should read it. And then there's 1493. Right. A lot of narratives from personal journals of people who were around then. Right? And so, some of it seems to be fairly objective. Remember, there's always bias when you're journaling stuff. So this is what happened. And I'm sure a lot of you are way beyond me and all this and reading all, this history, because I'm not a historian. I loved history when I was in school and social studies and all those types of things. And I was good at it, but I'm not a historian. There are people who are, and they have the story for us. It's just like when I want to learn about fascism or anti-fascism, really, then I'm listening to or reading Ruth Ben-Ghiat or Timothy Snyder, and there's others. Okay, so that's who I go to. Those are sources that I go to, and then there's outside sources from that come on. Maybe you're not oriented this way, and if you're not, it's cool. A lot of folks, man, and I did this for years, so I know I took a break from my original leanings, and I just wanted to work, make money, have a good life, have some toys, and have a little fun with a couple of girls. Yeah. And bless them for gifting me with the relationships I had with these women. Yes, I bless them. It was the first time I ever talked about this. I'm a little personal now, which is okay. I've been gifted by my female partners from the past with great company, the best company, and some of the best affection and love that any man could ever want. So I have no regrets about that. No, it's great. Now I've been in a long period of solitude, which I've had periods of solitude in my life. I'm 72. And you know what? Really have always liked having a partner. I don't have one now, and I'm okay. Yeah. Maybe she will show up someday, whomever she is or was. Anyway, that's life in the big city. And the big city story is we got to vote them out. I say this all the time. It's the answer. It's the one that works. Of course, we want to put a gigantic, multi-million sized cadre of Robespierres and clean things up. Well, that's the solution that other side of thinking wanted to do with us. Like this woke nonsense about being woke. I mean, we've talked about that. It means you woke up, you saw the light, you've seen a lot of the reality that's out there. You've seen that these billionaires and the multi-millionaires and the companies as such have built their fortunes on the backs of us. That's right. Yeah. The 1%, well, the 10% has built, actually, it's 5% and up have built their fortunes on our backs. Oh, and you say, well, you know what? I've had a good life despite, you're just, guess what, man? You're a fucking capitalist serf. You're a serf in the capitalist empire. That's right. You're a serf, man. Yeah. Yeah. It's on different levels because we got technology and sometimes they have, well, a lot of people have had enough abundance. They've had good lives, blah, blah, whatever. I don't want to judge that because that's an individual thing. Now, you could be a billionaire and say, tell us what you don't like in your life or what you haven't liked in your life, right? Yeah, you could. And then there's folks that I've talked to that are homeless that are happy. Yeah, not many, but I have talked to a couple like that. And we shouldn't have any homeless. That should be wrong. That's just wrong. Shouldn't be happening. Now, there are people that want to live out. Yeah, they like it. They want to be nomads. They want to live in society in what we would call vagrancy, but it's really not. If they had public places to go where they could stay, now, they have to be kind of self-policing. That's a big thing to ask for. But it's not impossible. And there are smaller instances. Everything is small where this happens. All right, you guys. I'm going to post this. I'm a little bleary-eyed. And you guys know where I'm at on the spectrum, the people that listen to me. Yeah, you know where I'm at. You know what my take is on everything. The bigger share in a capitalist society that the common person gets, the better, okay? The more we can live our consumer economic lifestyles, the better, right? Right. Well, not really. There are better ways that are much more egalitarian. There are better ways where more people get to share the abundance of what we have and actually increase it. And we don't have to be fixated on growth. No, growth isn't really where it's at, folks. No, it's not. We don't need to be fixated on growth. No. However, we can open up what we have to the point where the abundance that is there to live sustainably, peacefully, in harmony. Oh, God, people hate that one, don't they? Well, that means there's a bunch of goddamn, yeah, there's a bunch of woke people there, ain't there? Yeah. Yeah, and there's woke people that want to be Robespierre. Well, until the end. Okay, so there it is. I didn't have much today except a bunch of kind of higher end whining, right? Well, here's the thing. You watch this thing and you go, man, when is this going to end? Is it going to get worse before it gets better? Maybe. I think so. It's kind of point. Now, here's your economics for the day. I'm involved in manufacturing. That's how I put beans on the table. Okay, I'm in a sales of manufactured stuff for them. That's what I do. Anyway, last month's report showed that manufacturing increased by 0.7%. Okay, so 0.7% increase, and that's good. So things have picked up. The supply chain's orientation has changed, and the pricing structure is going to change because of all the isolationism. Yeah. And supposedly, if you listen to those fucktards, that's going to be good because people are going to go back to work. They're going to be laborers. We have 4.3% unemployment. It's pretty low. Yeah, it could go lower. But to say that people aren't working, you've got of working age people, like 200 million people, something like that, I think it is, maybe more than that. Well, and some people are just not in that thing. They're not working anymore, so you can't count them in the equation. They want to. Oh, there's people just sitting around, laying around. Well, they are, and bless their hearts, man, if they can do that and they don't have to work, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, you're afraid that a few pennies out of your tax dollar went to their general well-being. I don't want to say welfare, went to their well-being. So they can have something to eat. So if they get sick, they have something to take care of them, which is, look what these scum did with that. Yeah. And so premiums just went up all over the place. I have a premium. All my premiums went up. Now, I pay lower because I'm Medicare and I have a supplement, right? But those premiums went up. Yeah, so my cost of living increase, it went up, but it's less. Now I'm less. Yeah, now I'm less in bottom dollar. So there you go. I mean, and I'm a guy, I'm above average income. Okay. I don't know what percentage I'm in. I used to be in the top 10%. I'm close to that still, but it doesn't matter. Sounds like I have pride in that. Well, at one time I did. I don't anymore. I just like to have a comfortable life, to stay entertained, to have good health. That's so important. And when I see my fellow citizens, and even people who are not considered citizens, when I see them in poor health, I don't like it. And I think they should be in good health. And I think we should provide that for them. And I think that's where our tax dollars need to go. Instead of stupid wars with Iran. Stupid. Go and take over Venezuela and get the oil money. We're getting like 1/10 of what they used to get when they had oil production. Yeah. And we're not getting it. Where's the money? Oh, it's supposed to go back in the U.S. Treasury. Okay. And then what's that money going to do? What's that going to do? Is that going to help people that don't have food? Is that going to make SNAP benefits brand new? No. Is that going to help out with Medicaid or Medicare or a real health care program? A social health care program? Right, there's the S word. We can do it. And it's not about being always in profit on the balance sheet. It is about balance. This whole thing, this country is not a business. It is populated by businesses and people who work for the businesses. But the country administration, the government is not a business, and it does not need to be run that way, and it doesn't work when it is, because too many people get the opportunity to steal, and they steal. Look who's stealing now. Look at how that family has benefited. And they were, they call the Biden. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. This whole thing is ridiculous. And you can see it. Millions of people can see this. and see it. And millions of people saw this and gave up a long time ago. I said, I'm not going to, fuck this. I'm not doing this. Yeah, fuck this. I'm not doing this. Yeah. Hell no, I'm not doing this. And so they checked out. It's like, look, I just want a nice place to live. I want to have transportation, good transportation. And if I have enough money, something fancy. Oh, I want to have clothes on my back, food in my belly, my bills paid. Right? Yeah. And I want to be entertained. That's what most of us want. And to feel good. Physically feel good. When this shit starts to interfere with that, what they talk about now, what's the word now? Affordability? Yeah. Right. Now you've just kicked 90% of us in the balls. Because the other 10% got the money. They don't give a shit. Oh, I had to pay $5 for it. I don't give a shit. I got the money. And that's where a lot of people think. They don't say it that way. That's not. There are people who say it worse than that. Fuck you. I got the money. You don't. And then there's people who say, well, I can afford it. I make enough money. I have a good living. I don't have to work. Okay. Now, if we all would take a stake in this, if we all will say we want things to be run more responsibly, we want there to be all haves, no have-nots. Okay, so there's a, like, what is it, 23% poverty now? Well, it's probably more. It's probably 25, 26 now. It's going up. That's 23 or 25%, whatever it is, too much. Shouldn't be any. Homeless? No homeless unless they're nomads. People want to be nomads. You could be nomads. You got to have a way to do it, though. There used to be hobos, right? Tramps, right? Don't have that anymore. Got homeless now, or unhomed, right? Things have changed. Terminology changes. Here's my last rant of today. Okay, semantics. Very important. Very important. The meaning of things. Very important. And how it's stated, written, or said. And even acted on. Okay, the word Semitic. Semitic refers to people that spoke certain groups of languages. Usually in the Levant, right? And what's now considered the Arabic countries or the Arabic-speaking countries. Okay? Those languages like Arabic, like Hebrew, like where they probably, a lot of it came from, okay? Those different languages, Aramaic, those are Semitic languages. So, in my opinion, those are all Semitic people. So, if you're anti-Arab, this is my opinion. I'm going to reclassify it. If you're anti-Arab, you're anti-Semitic. That's right. So, I think we should be really careful about all that. I think now you're talking about using things to be xenophobic, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't mean of course, in my opinion, it's wrong to hate Jews, right? To be anti-Semitic in that respect. And Arabs. And all the Arabic-speaking peoples. And Islam. Okay, and even Christianity, which I don't have much use for. Which, there's some good shit there, but a lot of it ain't happening. Especially by people who profess it. Look, I was a Christian. I know what it was to be a Christian. Right. I was a born-again Christian. I was born-again Christian. Got saved, went through all that stuff. It was the worst cult ever. Thinking is cult thinking. it pretty crazy, charismatic religious experiences that I had. Yeah. I've had a lot of supernatural, charismatic experiences. So Christianity wasn't the only one. I've had ones that I liked more. Okay. And Christianity, the core of what was supposedly the teachings of Jesus or whatever, wherever they came from, it's good stuff, man. Yeah, it's good stuff. Love thy neighbors, I love thyself, and I love thy God. Well, I don't believe in God, but I get it. If it's everything, then yeah. Those are great. It's totally antithetical of what these Christian nationalists, a lot of them, what they're trying to indoctrinate us with. Like, I heard another one the other, I forget who it was, tried to tell us that, well, this is a Christian nation. No, it's not. It's not a Christian nation. It was founded on religious freedom. So you can be like, I tell you what, I didn't like W at all, but he said a couple of good things. Everybody says a couple of good things. And one of his couple of good things was, it doesn't matter whether you're a believer, whether you're Islam, whether you're Jewish, Christian, or Buddhist, or atheist. It doesn't matter. You have the freedom to practice your beliefs here. Of course, unless it harms other people. Well, that's where the wrench is thrown in the works perennially. Yeah. Anyway, folks, it's been fun. I'm going to run. I got stuff to watch and read, and I appreciate all of you.